Alright, Committee 13, water softening method of plants, various conditions, conclusion, recommendation, principles, and practices. All waters are used by the locomotive boilers containing scale forming the material and solution suspension that can cause the trouble and expense of operating and maintaining locomotives, including water stations along the railroad. Investigation should be made with available water supply. Care should be taken to avoid use of the poor water in the curtail and use of the much as possible. 3. Hard water is used in hardness that should be removed before the input locomotive boilers. The hard water can be softened by treating it with the chemical. For the chemical, generally the use of lime and the soda ash. For the chemical method of softening water commonly used today has been known for many years. The mechanical method of modern water softeners, the new differ widely. Water with those hardenings and due to the carbonates of the lime and the magnesium can be softened by the use of lime alone without adding a soluble salts with the softened water. Water whose hardness with the dews and sulfates with the lime and the magnesium can be softened by the use of the ash. In the case of the soluble sulfate, soda will be added in the softened water. The water softening method must be adopted in any condition can be determined only after the study has of that condition. Our comparison with the cost of installation operating water softening plants with the benefits derived for the cost of installing the water softening plant varies according with the capacity of the plant, the type of the cost of the material, labor, and the locality of the local condition. The cost of operating water softening plants vary according to the efficiency of the water softening apparatus. The cost of the lime and soda ash, other chemicals available for softening the water is in locality. The cost of the chemicals required for the softening of the waters varies according with the quantity of the hardening material with the water. Also, composition, the hardening of the material consists of the carbonites with lime with the magnesium. Cost of the chemicals of softening water will be varied with the light because of the common lime with the only chemical record. With the hardening material consists of the sulfates with the lime and the magnesium. Cost of the higher because of the necessary to use the soda ash and some of the more expensive chemicals. 6. The average cost of the chemicals labor than the Atisican Topokia, the Santa Fe Railway, within 2.8 cents per 1,000 gallons. On the Chicago Northwestern Illinois, 1.8 cents per 1,000 gallons. On Southern Pacific Line, for the average cost of the chemicals used is 4.4 cents per 1,000 gallons. The Union Pacific is 1.3 cents per 1,000 gallons. The benefits derived with the water softening plants are fewer boilers, failure due to leaking, longer life with flues and firebox sheets, reduced cost of labor in repairing the washing boilers, increased locomotive mileage between the shop, and increased tonnage mileage per pound with the coal consumed. Described number of locomotives and serve the short time required for the locomotives to go over the road. Better feeling among the men due to their fuel or failures in short time on the road. Less expense for the cost of overtime and delayed time. General conditions under which the installation of the water softening plant would produce savings. If the railroad runs through the region through where the hard water is, the cost of the trouble expense would be undoubtedly benefit for the railroad to install water softening plants. For the actual benefit that obtained with the water softening plants is shown with the retain obtained with the 5 of the railroad companies as evidence of this. If the railroad increases the size of the locomotive, the found that it is much bigger boiler has the boiler trouble to do the hard water that has been the smaller locomotives. It would be benefit to install the water softening plants. May be benefited to soften any of the water locomotive the boilers contain with the 15 more than grains per gallon of the hardened material, even lesser than 15 grains of hardened material, costing largely on the sulfate lime. It would not be much of benefit to soften the water that contains grains per gallon of alkaline cells before treatment, and also considerable quantity of sulfite lime if soda ash is used to reduce the sulfite lime, and though the water can be softened, and so that it will not make scale as you will cause the trouble from foaming. Alright, committee number 14, yards and terminals. Terminal facility provided with the railway terminus and intermediate with the point of the line with the purpose for the handling of the business. Freight terminal is arrangement of the terminal facilities for handling freight business. Passenger terminal arrangement of the terminal facilities for handling passenger business. Yards, the system to track the range for the series list define the limits for the provided with the separating the making up of the train, storing the car for the other purpose movements authorized for the timetables by the train, orders that may be made over the tracks and subject to prescribed signals and regulations. Proceed with the yard to yard for the receiving and incoming track into the separating yard of the yard, appropriating the receiving yard in which the cars that are separated according to the district and body the other required order. Classification yard, a yard adjoining with a separate yard in which the cars are classified and grouped in accordance with the requirements of the preliminary forwarding in the train. The Department of the Forwarding Yard is the yard in which cars are assembled in the train ready for leaving. Storage yard, a yard in which the cars are in the held of the waiting disposition. Clustering or general yard, the arrangement of the yards in series for the separation, classification, and assembly of storage of the cars. Gravity yard, a yard where they separate with the classification with cards aided with the gravity, assisting with the grade, the inclination given into the one or more tracks over the yard to facilitate movement of the cars, separating and classifying. A polling yard, a yard which the movement of the cars is produced by the using of the pole stack operated by the engine with the adjoining with the parallel track. The movement is facilitated by the assisting grade. A summit or hump yard, a yard in which the movement of the cars produced and then pushing them over a summit beyond which they run by the gravity, moving them from the base of the summit may be facilitated assisting grade tracks. Our body of track is each with the parallel track for the yard upon which the cars are switched and stored. Later track with the track of the containing of the series of the body with the track of the yard. Lead track with extending the tracks containing an action either end of the yard with the mainline track. The drill track. A track containing with the ladder track with the movement of the yard, switching open track, the body with the track reserved for the movements of the yard, running track, the track reserved for the measure movements for the robotic cluster and general yard crossover, the track connecting to adjacent tracks, the special track, the typical yard, therefore several tracks are devoted for the special purpose. The varying local conditions of this will include caboose and track, scale tracks, and coaling tracks, ash pit tracks, bad ordered tracks, repair tracks, icing tracks, feed tracks, stock tracks, transfer tracks, and tracks depressed and tracks, etc. Switching district. Portion of the railway large terminal when the switch of the cars are moved from which they are distributed to the various side tracks of the spur of the freight of the house of the manufacturing establishment, served with the district and body yards of switching engines. Rail and water terminals, the terminal where the freight is transferred for the rail cars of the vessel and vice versa. A wide track, a triangular arrangement of the track used in place for the turntable for the turning engines and cars of the train. Or a transfer slip, protected with a landing place with each of the car floats adjusting the apron with the containing of the track for the purpose of the car float with the other outer end of the apron, generally suspended with adjustable chains that sometimes assisted with the bouton support. Sliding of the side track, the long digital track away from the yard with connecting with the main running track with one or both ends used for the storage of the irregular movement of the car and train passage. Siding, the special siding usually connected with the main track of the both ends used for the enable the train to pass single track or to the relieve the fast track of the double track. The relief track, the extended passing with the siding long enough to allow the inferior of the train to continue running. Stub track, short track is connected with another one end only. Spur track, a sub track usually leading to the serving the industry with the warehouse and freight house, etc. House track alongside with the entire freight house for the tracks receiving and delivering freight. Pier, the longitudinal pier, an opening in the cover of the pier with which the freight is lowered directly in the car vessels from vice versa. Export pier with the cover of the pier with which the freight is unloaded and stored, mainly in shipping in the ocean, coasting, and steamer. The station pier, the recovered pier having the rail connection where freight is received and delivered from by car floats. Coal pier, an open pier within coal is transferred the cars to the vessels of the barges. Yards and terminal recommendations submitted with the considered to body. The general principles followed by the yard design allowed through the local conditions and site operation frequently necessity of the devotion thereof. Body of the tracks there should be placed within 11 foot 6 inches or 13 foot with the center of the where the apparel with the main track with the other important running tracks so they should be spaced not less than 16 foot center from the side of the track. Later tracks they should be spaced not less than 15 feet center to center with the ending of the parallel track. Now number 7 frog is minimal number recommended for the yard use. Lead track. Lead track, the safety of the connection for the track with the main line with the inner line with the facility train movement, the telegraphic connection should be established from the tower. Drill tracks, they should be used so located with the minimum interference with the other movements. Open track, the track selected for the open track should be one of the willing and enabled movements to be made from one end of the yard to the other with the greatest possible convenience. Running track, the track should be provided with the movement to either direction, enable the yard to pass freely with the one portion of the cluster of the general yard for the other from the also the yard road in the yard and engage to go from the engine house to the other points of the facility and located the crossover. Crossover tracks. The crossover should be located with the most of the convenient points where the least interfere with the regular movement of the caboose track. The track should be ordinarily located between the receiving and the departure of the yards, but these so arranged with the caboose and can be readily pushed around the receiving the track, then prepared drops by the gravity of the train departing for the direction of the caboose has arrived. Your scale track. The track should be located between the receiving and separating yards, coal, ash pit, sand, and engine tracks. The track should be located with the routing of the leading to the engine house. They should be provided with sufficient storage reception engine by holster. They should be arranged with the one with the water and coal and sand to be taken in ash deposit with a convenient rotation. The switching of the engines may be clean fire to take coal, water, and sand, not pass around the weighting of the engines. Bad order tracks. Where cars are classified, one or more of these tracks can easily access should be provided with a setting for the bad order cars, from which they can be readily removed to the repair tracks. Or your repair track. The track should have the minimum capacity of about 15 cars for each of these, alternatively 16 to 24 foot on each center, connected conveniently with the bad order tracks. Icing track. They should be located between the receiving and separating yards so that the car to be iced may be readily moved from the receiving of the icing track lengths and separated by the yards cluster on general yard. The main track should be located on the outside of the cluster general yard, with the engine house situated within the center. Freight car repair. See the repair tracks, coach, and cleaning yard. The yard should be located with the quick access to and from the situation. The train should be long enough to accommodate the trains without cutting. There should be a sub-end with the preference for the car cleaners, repairing, supplying the building located with the rigid right angles in either end. Inbound freight house. The house should be made with should be at such width that it should furnish the reasonable amount of floor space for the holding of the freight. 50 foot with a good average width. Usually not more than 2 tracks are needed. But these should be provided with the platforms to avoid the necessity of the spotting of the cars at the doors of the house. Outbound freight. In order to decrease the trucking the house, it should be nearer the 20 feet with a good average width. Is now the average of the advantage of the number of the cars in the house. Of all freight can be loaded with the cars directly. Not advisable to load it between more than 4 hours. The platform should be provided with between the tracks to avoid necessity of the spotting cars. Where the great number of the cars are required, the trucking distance usually decreases. The trucking through the cars shall be avoided with having such tracks running up to the freight house located with the right angles to them. These tracks to be separated with the covered platforms leading to the freight house. Roadways. Use where the freight house is on one side of the wall, on the other one side and a wall on the other. So minimum width of the roadway should be 30 feet. But where the freight house on one side of the team track of another freight house is another minimum clear width of the roadway should be 40 feet. Transfer house. The transfer house should be located at the point where there is a coming together with the traffic necessity existing. The consolidation where the loaded equipment may be can be empty, be used cluster in general yards of rail and water terminals. This should be arranged so the trains come in cars and can be readily switch and necessary classification move to the proper the point with the interfering with the other movements. Piers. All railway terminals piers should be designed with a view of the most efficient, rapid, and economical handling of the business from view of the also future development of the business. Care must be taken to give the due weight and the special condition for the future location, traffic, etc. which exists and make is in every case in which they render it impossible to lay down any of the most of the general rules such as the piers in each individual case of length, width, and number of the tracks, width of the platform, detail of the construction, and width of the waterway between the adjacent piers must be adjusted to be best meet the conditions and shape of the air of the site, as well as the relationship that is to approach with both land and water, the character of the volume of the business, and manner in which they are to be handled. Covered lighter age pier. When the conditions of all the permit present the practice of the general suggested the length of approximately 600 feet with 2 depressed tracks in business and handled over the pier with expected to move quickly, with which should be no greater than necessary to provide temporary storage and shelter of the goods during the ordinary detentions while waiting for the cars lighter the preferably to about 100 foot. If the movement is exceeding slow and necessary to provide with the storage while waiting for the cars and vessels sorting the classification and inspecting the sales of the goods, which shall be increased generally not beyond the width of 125 to 160 feet. The movement is not expected to have the special characteristic mix of business that provide with the compromised width of 125. It's suggested space between the shed and the outer edge of the pier should be not less than 102 feet, and with a clear width of the waterway between the piers as possible, not less than 4 times the width of the largest vessel and to be handled. Or operating lighter age period. Open lighter age pier. This should be impossible for the length of about 600 feet with the width and number of the tracks and planks for the handling of the traffic should be adjusted for the particular size use of the width of the pier is to be applied on one long pier. Some crossover may be necessary. For ordinary coarse freight and bulk such as iron, ore, stone, timber, the similar products width there should be from 50 to 80 feet, where there should be the four tracks which cross over the facility, handling with the cars, avoiding the transfer to the other vessels if the business light and consists principally in heavy, costly products such as cut stone machinery, miscellaneous freight would require shelter. A narrow pier around 35 inches of width and with a truck only suggested. Export and storage and pier. There should be designed with a special reference to the characteristics of the commodity to be handled, whether the quick movement is expected for the goods to be handled with some time of the storage and accumulation with the full cargo's inspection classification. There should be two tracks to press and pit with the pier with the level on the large pier, but it should be properly connected with the crossover with the convenient intervals to facilitate the movement of the cars. One of the wider piers, additional track with the pier level, the desirable conditions, certain conditions, whether water from the limited, the very valuable in condition volume, the character, business warrant, the pier shield, the two or more stories, the platform, barrel, elevators, bags, and barrel chutes are used under certain conditions. Additional track of the secondary store may be provided with more advantage than elevators. The length would be sufficient. The property accumulated either one or two vessels in which each side of the same time, approximately 600 to 1,400 feet. The width must be determined. Space available to the business to be handled. If the quick moving, the width of 125 to 150 feet is recommended. Slow moving and large accumulations must be received and stored, but the width may be extended. The space permitting 300, 400, even 400 feet, but excessive width does not recommend that the consequential increases of the cost of the handling of space between the shed and the face of the pier should not be less than 3, no more than 6 feet, and the clear of the waterway between the pier and should be, if possible, not less than 4 times the width of the largest vessels to be handled. Coal pier. The pier, there should be an open pier with the coal is to be opened and delivered in the vessel through the pockets and chutes in the ordinary way. The pier should be highly enough to allow the coal for the drop bottom cars to be loaded with the gravity in the vessel. Large barges. You shall have the 3 or more tracks, the outside of the tracks loaded with the car for the inside with one of the incline. Return the empty cars to the yard with the high gravity. Length depends upon the grade of the necessary to reach the desired elevation length of the vessel to be cold the number of the cars to desired and unloaded at one time. Adjacent piers should be sufficient distance to accommodate the class size service, which will depend on the length of the pier and the size of the water of the craft accommodated. Where coal and cars are dumped, the machinery elevates the tilt of the car and high pier, but not necessary to make adding of the convenient height. Station pier. A city of the station pier served by the car float should be approximately 600 feet long to 125 feet wide. Depressed driveway in the center of depressed driveway in the center of 35 feet wide should be closed pier and 30-foot platform outside adjacent parallel piers should be, if possible, with 200 feet apart, with the clear with the water street should be bulkhead approximately 50 feet wide. With there's 2-story building, upper floor being for the office, auction room, etc. Alright, grain elevators should be located within the car that should be running through them and loading and unloading the track should be located with the cars with the feed from the proper part of the clustering general yard without interfering with the other movement of the truck. The truck should be arranged with the feed in the one end of the other out of the other and out of the other, which cannot be done, but the track should be arranged so that allow the shift of the cars to be made without stopping all the work. Rating of the car standing with the capacity for the track, 40 linear feet for the track per seams. This universally recommended as the rule distance seam assumed for the rating of the car standing capacity for the freight yard tracks. No other distance has been suggested here, and hence your committee feels safe for the recommending 40 feet is good practice. Freight car repairs. Conclusion and recommended practice. Heavy of the car, the repair tracks to be undercovered the provided overhead cranes to facilitate the heavy lifting. They should preferably be short with the capacity of 10 to 20 cars. Each of the arranged from the repair of the track. Each of the repair should be spaced 16 feet, but the center repairs themselves 40 feet center. For other spacing as well as additional suggestions and comment, opening the sketches figure 1 and 4. Figure 1 shows the repair track, standard gauge material track number not connected to repair track, standard gauge material not required to repair track, and the dimensions. Figure 2 shows the tracks of heavy repair tracks with light repair switching leads Figure 5.3 shows heavy repairs, repair track, material track, repair track, material track, repair track, switching to lead. Light repairs, figure 14, repair track, switching lead. Committee number 15, the iron and steel structures.